Hey my love, so this is gonna be a very quick video today. It's very short because I'm just showing y'all how to pretty much lay a cuticle bead and how I seal my cuticles. This is my way of doing it, so just take note of that because everybody has their own techniques when they are doing application, but I just wanted to show you guys mine. And I also wanted to show you guys that I'm still using that candy butter because it is so moisturizing. Like, I love it. It's like cuticle oil all over your skin. But anyway, I'm going ahead. I'm using Knot Polish size 12 brush, which I actually like now, you guys. And I'm also using Malia by 876 as well as the monomer. Now, it was super hot in my house because I do have the heat on. And I don't know why I did not turn this heat off because, y'all, when I say it was drying fast, y'all already know that the monomer that I use dries fast anyway. So everything was drying super fast. And y'all are going to notice in this video just how fast and see how quickly everything was drying. But I still got through it. I do feel like my application and the cuticle beads could have been better. But I still want to go ahead and post this because I figure I'm going to start doing videos like this every maybe 4 to 6 months just to see my improvement and also just to give you guys updated videos of how I am doing things. So I'm gonna go over each finger. This one right here, as you can see, I just went ahead and I did a 3 bead method on this one. And the third bead was my cuticle bead. I pushed it up into the cuticle. I wiped the sides first and then wiped the middle down. I'm going to show you all again what I'm doing. I'm just going ahead and filling in any gaps at the end. You can do this. It does not have to be perfect, you guys. I don't want you to think that people just lay these cuticle beads and everything is perfect and clean all the time, because sometimes it is not. Sometimes you're working with acrylic that is drying fast on you and you have to do this, and that is what I had to do. So I did go ahead and take a very small bead and fill in any gaps that I saw in between my eponychium and the last bead that I put down. So again, I'm going ahead and placing this first bead. This is going to cover basically majority of the nail. I want to note that you have to use a very good brush, number one, and you also have to use a very good acrylic powder. If you are not using a very good acrylic powder, this process is going to be horrific for you. Like, it's going to be 10 times harder than what it has to be. You're not going to be able to lay the beads correctly because the acrylic is not moving how you need it to. You need a smooth and buttery acrylic powder, you guys. Highly recommend 876. But as you can see right here, I'm going ahead and this is the cuticle bead. I'm pushing it up into the cuticle, you guys. Make sure that your liquid to powder ratio is correct as well. These are things that you need to practice before trying to do this process, because everything that comes before this will make this easier, if that makes sense. Your application, once you get your application down packed, doing cuticle beads is going to be after that, because then you're going to have control over your beads, if that makes sense. But like I said, you are going to place each and every cuticle bead below the cuticle and push it up into the cuticle. And you do not want it to touch the skin. You're going to do it right before it touches the skin. Right before it touches the skin is when you stop and you start to blend. And I'm going to show you and talk to you all very in depth when we get to the thumb, because that one is what I slowed down. And I just didn't want to repeat myself 5 times. I wanted you guys to see what I was doing first, and then to cover it in a whole, in a nutshell, I wanted to go over the last finger, which was the thumb. And I did slow that down for you all so I could talk you through it in a very slow process. All right, so now everything is slowed down. We are going in real time. So I'm just taking a bigger bead and just going to cover the majority of the nail. Now, again, this acrylic powder was drying super fast, so that is why I was making my beads very wet and keeping my brush very wet, because it was drying so fast on me, y'all. Like, I really should have turned the AC on, or at least put my air purifier on so that some air could be circulating in my room, because it was way too hot and everything was setting way too quick. quickly for me to even be doing this video, but like I said, I still wanted to post it and give you all a feel of how I do my cuticle beads. And again, I will be posting another video in a few months just to show you my updated video of this, and just to see how much progress I have made. So right here, I just skipped a little bit because there was some clumps in my acrylic powder from me dropping monomer in there on accident. But we're going ahead and we're placing the second bead down right here. And this is just giving y'all a feel of how I do my application. However, this is not an application video. If you would like to see my application video, I do have one, and I will link it above for you all right here, so you can go check out after this one. Now this finger is the do's and the don'ts. So we are going to pick up a medium-sized bead, and I'm picking up a medium-sized bead because this is the thumb and it's a little wider, so I am going to need it to cover a little bit more space than usual. I'm not going to pick up a small bead how I would on every other brush or every other finger. And as you can see, I am pushing it up into the cuticle area, and then I am swiping it down. You see how it's not touching any skin? You do not want that cuticle bead to touch any of your skin in the cuticle area. Now, you do want it to be very flush and seamless. You want it to make it look like it's coming out of the nail, and you want it to be a very pretty much thin layer right there, because you don't want to have to file too much at the end. You do not want that part to be bulky at all. Are your real nails bulky like that in the cuticle area? No, they are not. So you want it to be very flush. Now, obviously, I did need a little bit more acrylic because I am going to be sealing the cuticles and filing over this area. So I am going ahead and I'm placing one more bead. Now, this is the don'ts. You see how wet that bead is? It should not be that wet. At that point, I should have dried my brush off and then went back into patting the bead, and it would have dried it and soaked up a little bit of the monomer that was in the bead already, if that makes sense. So I am able to clean it up and not have and prevent the flooding from you know, to keep going or proceeding. But for beginners, you probably would not have known how to clean it up that quickly, if that makes sense. So make sure that when you are placing cuticle beads that they are not overly saturated with monomer. If they are completely just going to flood the cuticle area, you guys, like completely flood it, and it's not going to be pretty. And yes, even if you do flood the cuticles, you can clean it up and you can still seal the cuticles. However, I've noticed when I used to flood my cuticles, and even after I took a 5-in-1 bit and I quote unquote sealed them, it was still so much flooding that you might miss a part, or you might have gaps in between that could possibly create air bubbles at the end, or air spaces to where water or anything could get trapped in your nail, and that will cause lifting, and even sometimes it will create bacteria and fungus. So now we're taking a 5-in-1 bit, and in the beginning of this I was showing you all that you can do this process with a sanding band. You can seal the cuticles with a sanding band. However, I don't find that as effective as sealing them with a 5-in-1 bit. I like to seal my cuticles with a 5-in-1 bit. I feel like it really gets in the crease of where your eponychium and the acrylic meet. So that is why I use a 5-in-1 bit. It has more of a sharper edge to it versus the sanding band, which is a little more bulky and not as precise. So that is just my personal preference. If you are more comfortable using the sanding band to seal your cuticles, then by all means go ahead and do that. Or whatever bit that you find that suits you best to seal your cuticles with, then go ahead and use that. But for me, my personal preference, I am always going to seal my cuticles with a 5-in-1 bit. Now, I do like to use a fine 5-in-1 bit. I do not like to use a medium grit or a coarse grit anymore, just because I feel like you can easily overfile your cuticle area. As you know, your cuticle area is supposed to be very flush to your nail. And that is meaning like it's supposed to be a little more flat than your apex area and the rest of your nail. You want it to look very flush, and you want it to look like it is naturally growing out of your nail, if that makes sense, or out of your eponychium, if that makes sense, which is the skin right in between your cuticle area and the actual acrylic that you are laying. So you do not want any of the acrylic touching your skin. If it is touching your skin, that is going to create lifting, or even the nail in rare cases will completely pop off if you have acrylic powder touching your skin. So that is what sealing the cuticles is preventing. I also want to mention that you do not want to overfile. If you are overfiling, you are going to have a big gap in between where the cuticle and your acrylic meet. Like, you do not want to have any space in between that area. As you can see, this thumb is flawless. Everything is right where it needs to be. There is no gap in between the cuticle and in between the acrylic. It is flush to the nail and everything is sealed properly. So just make sure that you are paying attention to all those details, and I hope this video helps you out quite a bit. And if not, I will have more videos to come on how to seal your cuticles and how to lay acrylic beads, and I will try to go more in depth as I do more videos. And yeah, I hope y'all found this video helpful, and I will see you on the next one. I love y'all so much. Mwah. Bye.